Okay, welcome back to the Investigative Journal on this July 8th, 2016 day on our calendar. I'm your host, Greg Anthony, and you're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com. You can listen to my show every evening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Time. Don't miss the show. And they also play it at 11 a.m. Pacific Time. Thanks, First Amendment. Now, if you can't listen to either of those shows, go to my long-standing website, arcticbeacon.com. If you're interested in learning about the Vatican-led New World Order, and remember those first two words, because it's not just the Illuminati and the bankers and the Jews, etc., and what you're going to hear, the elite secret societies. There's a bigger picture here. Now, let's, usually on Friday I like to recap the week and get a pulse. Now listen to what I've said, get a pulse on what's going on. Now that word pulse is going to be important for you to remember in this show because it has a real occult significance. And we're going to see how on a couple of the presentations I'm going to play for you today. Okay, I woke up to, in fact, I woke up early. I mean, last night I heard about the 7/7/16 shooting in Dallas. It's hard to know what's true and what's not, what's believable and what's a staged event these days. However, I have to say this is another staged event. One of the emails I received, I will read to you from one of the listeners, and it said this: Greg, it looks like 7/7/16 was used after all. Like I had mentioned on other shows, right? Last week I think I talked about it. Now last night in Dallas, while it was still Thursday, a supposed ambush on police officers happened that left 5 cops dead. The powers behind the scenes are pushing the agenda as never before. Thank you for that email. 7/7/16 is a 7. There's your 3 sevens. The order out of chaos code that is used by these people, the numerology that they communicate with is important. Another email I got today. Let's look at this one. 2 civilians injured. 5 cops killed. There's your first 7. 7 cops injured. There's your second 7. And the shooter is 25 years old. His name is supposedly Micah Johnson. 2 plus 5 is 7. There's your 7/7/7 order out of chaos code, Greg. Okay, thank you for that information from another emailer who's starting to catch on perhaps the numerology they use. So, the first question I asked when I saw this shooting, or saw how they report all this stuff, is there was the typical scenes of people running, seemed to be running out of nowhere. Then I saw the officers. Now they were gathered there supposedly for it was a rally that was given acceptance. The permit for this rally was given 24 hours in advance after the shooting, I get, in Minnesota and in that other cop shooting and wherever. Oh, that was in Baton Rouge. And if you remember those two, I believe those two could also be staged events. Supposedly, white police officers killed 2 black men without provocation. You've heard about those. When this rally was to peacefully, supposedly, protest against police violence, black against white, okay? So I look at supposedly now there's 2 shooters at this rally that were picking off policemen like sitting ducks, right, at a carnival. First thing I said was, why were the Dallas cops not wearing their body armor, their vests, their helmets? The shots you saw were policemen. One was running around in shorts. The others were in their regular civil uniforms without any protection. And now, what rallies have you seen in recent times where police don't go in protective gear? Now, you will see a few shots of the FBI in their protective gear, etc. It looks like a staged event to me. Next question that you guys have to ask is, how did they get away? How did they get away with this? Now, we know they could film a staged event, show you that film, but supposedly these cops died. Now, everybody in the Dallas police force should know who these people are, right? There's got to be some close watch on this. Could the whole department be involved in this? The mayor, the police chief, and the rest of the people in the department? It's an interesting scenario here, and I think you'll see people trying to research who the names of these police officers who were supposedly killed, and then we'll try to piece together, how could they pull this off in that sense? That's a question you got to ask. Now, the theme that the media is playing right now is that it's the biggest massacre of police officers since 9/11. Okay. Now, secondly, what they're asking is, how could America have gotten to this point? Well, you're not going to hear the truth from the mainstream. You're not going to hear the truth from the opinion makers like Bill O'Reilly, and then we'll go to the left-wing people like Anderson Cooper and the rest of those guys. You're not going to hear it from the Washington Post. You might not even hear what I'm going to tell you from much of the alternative media. The question is, how did America get to this point? The mainstream is asking. And I will tell you that we have gotten to this point because we haven't paid attention to how evil and how these people really operate. We don't connect any of the dots. We don't connect any of the dots between the Vatican and all of their minions around the world working together. As we speak, another huge story is going on with Obama in Poland, building up NATO forces on the Russian border. Vladimir Putin, who I've got pictures of him with the Pope just last year or even months ago, where they're getting together. And you're going to see a lot of stories about that, not on the mainstream, but there is a huge story about how World War III really is being planned as we speak. How we got to this point? I think you ought to go back to the story of Cain and Abel and understand where evil really comes from, and understand that these rulers of evil have to be there. And you will understand the point of how this all works together to create a scenario where we are in a situation where they are bringing this country down for a purpose, and that is their one world order, their one world religion, their one world government, their one world military, etc. Now, we got to look back to, let's get specific on this date, 7/7/16. There's your 3 sevens. Now, let's look back to May 20th, 2016. Now, what happened there? I'm going to play something here, not right this moment, but what I want to do is kind of tie those two things together in a short little presentation on someone who already put together a short video on Dallas, Texas shooting hoax, July 7th, 2016, a repeat of May 20th, 2016, shooting hoax in Washington, D.C. And this man is called Free to Find the Truth. Go to his, it's a 6-minute video that I'm going to play for you now, and maybe make a comment, because he has some really interesting footage regarding the May 20th event in Washington, D.C. Remember that event outside of the White House? Here we go.
Welcome back. Zach here. It's July 7th, 2016. It's being reported there's an active shooter in Dallas. They're saying 3 cops are killed, 7 more are injured. The first report was 2 cops injured, now 3 dead. Oh, now up to 8 wounded. 3 and 8. Remember, the word death equals 38. Dallas, Texas in gematria sums to 118, also like the word death in Jewish gematria. This is another hoax. I will do a more complete video when they release more details. But check this out. This is a perfect example of what's going on right now in Dallas. On May 20th, there was an active shooter reported at the nation's capital. You might remember this story, May 20th. Gunmen, they had to clear the Capitol, shut down the White House. It was breaking news. It was national news. The Secret Service had to gun down a crazed gunman. Well, they just released the video of this shooting. The video just came out. This is from the May 20th gunman at the White House. The national news just put this out.
Okay, and what I'm looking at, and you can't see, of course, in the radio show, so I recommend going to this video. They put out this really fake-looking thing. The shooter supposedly runs. You'll see him fake getting shot in the belly, and it's a fake. It's amazing that people would even believe this. Not one bit of blood, nothing. It looks to me like a training session, but let's see what he has to say here.
Past week, there's no sound to this video. Just watch. Your eyes will not deceive you. This might provide you with some much-needed comedy relief. It is embarrassing how bad this video is. This was national news. This was reported as a real shooting. Remember, as I continue to say, if it's national news, it's propaganda. What these police departments do is have active shooter drills and report them as real events, real threats, real tragedies. Check this out. Here comes the shooter. Notice how he sits up, and then the cop comes over, he's like, no, you're supposed to lay down. Okay. Look at these guys. They're just doing their job, right? It's not them who makes the news. So you might have noticed there's no blood anywhere on this guy. He pretended like he was shot in the stomach. You give this guy a blood pack, the shooting would be no different than yesterday's Alton Sterling shooting, no different than yesterday's Philando Castile shooting. Both of those were staged events, drills reported as real tragedies. These stories are meant to provoke, instill fear. It is the Freemasons who rule over us, who control media, who control police, who have the mottos of divide and conquer and order through chaos. This is what goes on every day in the media. Lie after lie, and the reason it's unchecked is it's because the people in authority doing it to us, you know? We the people, we don't have any protocol for holding police departments accountable. This whole justice system, it's bought and paid for, it's owned by this Masonic cartel. This is what they do here, though. This is a shining example. I cannot believe they released this video. This is all part of the mockery. The powers that be who run the media, they feel invincible. They know they have the masses hook, line, and sinker. They know they can even throw out this video and get away with it. This is the worst shooting hoax video to date. And this is the one that not enough people know about yet. This video needs to get spread. This was the real news story. They shut down the White House. They shut down the city for this. They told the whole nation about it. Breaking news. Gunman at the White House. It's embarrassing, truth seeker. And everyone comes and goes, well, how come nobody ever speaks up? How could they? You know, you don't need to ask those questions anymore. You see why they don't speak up. They're collecting checks. They don't control what message gets out. Stuff goes on all the time, unchecked. I'll show you something else. They released the name of the shooter. His name is Jesse Olivieri from Ashland, Pennsylvania. How nice. Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House is at. Shooter in the hoax from Ashland, Pennsylvania. The name Jesse Olivieri has gematria of 67, like Freemasonry. Numbers coded into both the victims yesterday. Alton Sterling, 67. Philando, whatever his last name is, his name's 67. I already have 3 of these videos out. Go back and watch them. And what day did the news come on? July 6th, 6/7. These numbers are always important to the gang because it's, again, Freemasons. Freemasonry has this gematria. It's propaganda for the nation. His name, the Big Way, is the exact same as United States. Ashland, Pennsylvania has gematria of 76. The reflection is 67. The Big Way, Ashland, Pennsylvania is 211. Number coded all over the Alton Sterling shooting. 211 is the 47th prime. 47, one of the most important numbers to the Freemasons. Words such as authority and president equal 47. This was at the White House. Remember, the Freemasons have Euclid's 47th problem, which is about establishing foundation. All of these stories are building an ongoing narrative, establishing the foundation for something greater to come. So I'll put out a video later on the Dallas police shooting. No doubt, more propaganda by the numbers. Again, they're saying 3 dead, 8 injured. Death equals 38. Dallas, Texas equals 118. Death in Jewish gematria equals 118. They're in the news coverage I've watched, they keep bringing up how the shooting happened near where JFK was assassinated. And as I continue to say, in these ongoing shooting hoaxes, these ongoing race war stories, you saw the image, they said the shooter's black and he's on the run. You know, this is part of the race war narrative. They're going to say it's retaliation for yesterday. Guarantee it. It's all a contrived story. It's all propaganda. It's all by the numbers. I'll take it apart when the details are out. But please share this video. Please show your friends and family this ridiculous news story, this ridiculous propaganda, and just how bad it is. All right, True Seeker. Until next time.
Okay, that video, that short little video he was talking about the May 20th shooting hoax in Washington, D.C., you must go see it. You'll see how fake that is. And they put that out. It's just amazing how they're just, you know, laughing at us. And I know what they'll say, that they hear shows like this, or they'll listen to what that gentleman was saying and say, oh, he's just a conspiracy nut. Okay, so do your homework on this shooting incident. We'll of course see more coming out, people that are bird dogging this, looking at really what happened. And here's another thing. Last night, after I heard about this, I went out and took my dogs for a little walk and met a gentleman who was walking his dog. And boy, was he upset about things. He was, you know, basically not understanding the Hegelian dialectic, not understanding anything that we talk about in this show. So I didn't get into the Vatican connection or the occult, anything like that. I just wanted to listen to him and to get his take on what he thought. We were mentioning, he came to me and I said, did you hear about that shooting in Dallas? And he said, yeah, I had to get out and just, what's happened to this country, he says to me. What is going on? Look at every week. He said to me, give me 1 week when I don't hear any of these things anymore. And I said, doesn't it seem like there's one of these, he didn't even understand the hoaxing on this, and I didn't, that it could be a hoax, so I didn't even want to get into that. But I said, he said, wouldn't it be nice if we just had 1 week without any of these violent shootings? And then he started talking about Chicago. And he started talking about all of the different things, the Washington shooting, Orlando, the Pulse nightclub, all of this stuff. And then he mentioned, oh, did you hear? And I go, what? And this is a local story. He said they just found the guy who was dousing homeless people with gas, and there was a story out of San Diego where this man supposedly, I don't know, I didn't even see the story, I'm listening to the national news, and he apparently doused a couple homeless guys. One guy died with gasoline, he set him on fire, and he said they just found the guy about 6 blocks away from here. He said, I was just over there this morning. And so it goes on and on and on. We definitely have people who are wondering what is going on in this country, what really is happening. Every week we hear something. Every week there's another supposed shooting. And most people, like this gentleman, don't understand what possibly could be going on. From just looking at everything I've seen over the last, all these stories, all these supposed shootings and things, they're just carbon copies of the next. You don't see anything, not a thing. And what they show you is so canned and fake, and people are buying it hook, line, and sinker. And my question to you, and maybe you guys can help me, how far does this, as much as I don't, we don't know everything, but there has to be a line in the sand where some people know about it, some don't. And where does it stop? Where, in these fake events, who knows, who doesn't? How high up does it go? And that's a question I'd like to entertain to you. What do you think? How high does it go? Who knows, who doesn't know? One thing I do know is somebody sent me an email regarding the amount of money collected at all these events going back to Sandy Hook and all of this stuff. And the idea was that this money was used to keep people quiet. You're talking millions of dollars on these shooting events being collected. I don't know how many millions were collected in the Pulse nightclub. Somebody told me that their GoFundMe requested $1 million, and they're up to $5 million now. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So you have to look, and there's a good, just put in monies, and there's federal money, millions going to some of these, for these shootings. And where is the money going? Who's getting paid to keep their mouth shut? That's a real big question. Like they always say, follow the money. So I'll check out that email and present it on another show, because it lists the exact amount of money going to all of these staged events. And I think that's a cute look where they're going. There were so many anomalies. I remember in the Sandy Hook hoax, they were actually collecting money before the incident occurred. And somebody had done a study on when the online thing actually went online, and it was prior to the incident. So that's kind of weird. Somebody knew it was going to happen. And then there were a number of other anomalies when you start looking at the photos and things that were actually played to the American people who bought it hook, line, and sinker. So look at that aspect of all of the monies and where they're going. And is that to keep these crisis actors' mouth shut, pay them off so they don't talk? And you know what? If any of them did, they'd probably be killed. So that's an acting job that requires what the Vatican really likes. They want to own your mind, body, and soul. And as you're going to see in the second half hour, I'm going to play something regarding what's coming up on 7/16/16. This huge, what I call an occult ceremony at the Washington Mall with the ISIS obelisk there, and supposedly 1 million Christians are getting together, and the Pope is going to speak. It is a fake event. It is a cult event, and many people posing as Christians will be there. They're not Christians. I recommend do not go to that event if you are a true Christian. We'll talk about 7/16/16 in the next half hour. Back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
Okay, welcome back to the second half hour of the Investigative Journal on this July 8th, 2016 day on our calendar. I'm your host, Greg Anthony. You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com. Okay, let's move on from 7/7/16 and look to this event that's going to occur in the Washington Mall. Fill the Mall, they call it. And you're going to see the ISIS statue there, you know, the obelisk that supposedly represents our freedom, which actually is an occult symbol that we've talked about before. And the events on 7/16/16, it's the Pulse Reset movement and the Together Christian Together meeting. They're supposedly trying to get 1 million Christians to come there. Now, recently, Pope Francis is going to speak, and I think I'm not sure I don't think he's going to be there. They're going to put him on a big, huge monitor, and he's going to speak to the Christians. Now that tells you something's up, and it's not a good event to go to. This is not a Christian. This is a worshiping service to the occult, and they're lying to a lot of good Christians that will be there, because a lot of the heads of this organization, have occult ties. Now go back. I did a show on 7/16/16. Now look at the code there. That's 7167167. So you got your 3 sevens, order out of chaos code. Also look, and I did a show a week ago or so on what else occurred in history on this date, 7/16. And you'll find some interesting things that occurred on 7/16. Now, I got a 15-minute presentation here, and this guy who puts it together does a real good job of explaining this Together event and also its relationship to the Pulse Gay Nightclub, what the word pulse is all about. It's an interesting video here, 15 minutes, and I really want you to hear this. And he goes under the name of God Rules, and he's only got 10,000 hits on this. I guess YouTube must control this stuff. And I always said they did, and we've done shows on how they do it, technically, and how they can limit the amount of hits that come to really good stuff that really should be seen. Now, it's also interesting, they're calling this a together movement, and you're hearing that word together. It's Hillary Clinton's campaign slogan, Stronger Together. And you're hearing all these people get on the news. We have to get together. We all need to together. You're hearing this all over the place. And so 7/16/16, what's going to happen in Washington, D.C., please keep your eye on. I'm not saying anything tragic, or they're going to do another fake shooting there. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it is a ritual, a occult ritual that they're putting on. And anytime the Pope's involved, you got to think in those terms. So here we go. Let's see what this man has to say about this Pulse Reset movement and how it relates to the gay nightclub shooting. All right. This will be quite interesting.
Massive deception is going on right now. We're in the midst of watching this unfold. This gay nightclub shooting. The gay nightclub is called Pulse. That was actually part of it. Okay, that was actually a sacrifice, from what we can tell. The United Nations declared this year the year of the pulse, year of pulses. Okay, and it's not the only. There's so many of these connections with the term pulse. We have a alleged Christian movement, a massive one, to bring 1 million Christians to the National Mall in downtown Washington, D.C. Okay, this movement is called Pulse Reset. Okay, and it's going to headline various artists, music artists, and of course Pope Francis is also attending. And I'm thinking he was going to attend the whole time, but all of a sudden he just came out of nowhere at the last minute. Oh, he's going to attend too. Guess what date it's on? 7/16/16, or 7, 1 + 6, 1 + 6, or 777. It's kind of interesting. There's actually some other numbers. I saw one of my subscribers comment about the crash that happened the other day due to Brexit, and it was had something to do with 777 as well. I'd have to go look that up, but I thought this is very interesting because this whole Pulse movement is to unite Christians. Okay, but we have Pope Francis coming, and he says here, the guy, the founder of Pulse, Nick Hall, he calls him His Holiness, or as I call him, His Unholiness. Pope Francis would choose to speak into this historic day is a testament to the urgency and need for the followers of Jesus to unite in prayer for our nation and our world. We are humbled and honored by his involvement and are eager to share his message with the crowd that gathers together. One of my subscribers sent me a link to this prayer service that occurred after the Orlando Pulse gay nightclub shooting. Okay? This prayer service is not exactly what you would expect from a Baptist church. It's First Orlando Baptist Church. And if you actually listen to this video, it's pretty shocking. I think most Christians would be pretty offended at what was said. They said some things that were very strange. First thing they said was that the LGBTQ community was the head cornerstone, which seems to be very much pointing to a verse in the Bible that talks about Jesus being the head cornerstone. And why would they say the LGBTQ community is the head cornerstone? That's very, very strange and disturbing for a pastor to be saying this. And then from there, they were talking about joining together as a community in a sense, to put away any boundaries. You kind of give the impression of sort of, putting Jesus in the back seat and just unite out of love without Christ, of course, kind of is the feeling I got from the sermon. And this is kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen at this together, this fill the mold, this pulse reset, 1 million Christians. And I'm thinking that a lot of people were assuming that this event was really a legitimate, standard, good Christian type of event. And there's even some good people that are going to be involved in it. And what I mean is there's going to be various guest speakers, and some of them are very good people, like Bobby Zacharias. He's a very good person, But at the same time, he came in way early, and now just all of a sudden out of nowhere, Pope Francis is joining the bandwagon. It's usually a really bad sign when you got Pope Francis joining the bandwagon of anything. But there's also some other people that are involved that, very interestingly, I recently, just yesterday, exposed as being tares. Now, in Scripture it talks about the wheat and the tares. Now, tares are a certain type of weed that looks very much like wheat. So, in other words, they look like they're Christians, but they're not Christians. And at the end of the age, the harvest will be reaped, and the wheat and the tares will be separated. Okay? So what we have is some people who pretend to be Christian that are not Christian, that are also coming to this event. They're going to be heading this event. One of the people I just exposed yesterday on video was Lecrae. He has a lot of Illuminati, Freemason symbology in his videos now, and it's ever since he started becoming more popular, more mainstream, that he started doing all this. And it's not just him. And some of his buddies, Andy Mino and Trip Lee, these two guys also use, Andy was found to have a hat with literally the pyramid and the all-seeing eye on it. On his hat. Trip Lee had the Rising Phoenix, which is clearly a Freemason image on his recent album. He's also had his eye covered. Both him and Andy and also Lecrae have done the eye covering, one eye covered. And I also exposed, what's the guy from, that used to be the singer of DC Talk, Toby Mac. He also has all manner of Freemason imagery in his music, albums, and such. Those guys are just exposed yesterday, and most of those guys are coming to this event. I thought that was very interesting that those guys are going to be there, because I think they're basically fake Christians. I think they're not Christian. Of course, there are a lot of legitimate Christians. So we're talking wheat and tares, and we have Pope Francis, who's clearly a tare, coming to this. And it's interesting, it's on 7/16/16, which is 777, an occultic date. And the fact that it's named Pulse, reset, and it's to reset the church. All these boundaries we have between different denominations, we need to reset and wipe the slate clean and follow Christ is what, and this sounds like a very legitimate message, and I actually agree if it was properly disseminated. If we could reset back to Christ and wipe away the walls that divide the various Christian groups, okay, but see here, what do we have? We have tares. We have Pope Francis going. See, this is how the devil works, The devil wants to win every time, the Hegelian dialectic. So either you can have division, okay, between Christians, or you can have unification with the tares. See what I mean? Unification with non-Christians. And I think, of course, as I mentioned with that previous video with that Baptist church, they were talking as if they were uniting with the community, irregardless of what their lifestyle is, what they're believing. It's like putting Christ to the side and just uniting, And the fact that the Pope Francis is going to it, it's uniting under a one-world religion, because Pope Francis is basically preaching a one-world religion. He even had imams come to the Vatican and give Muslim calls to prayer in the Vatican. Okay, not as if there isn't already a lot of problems with the Vatican itself. He's basically been doing this whole one world religion thing. And he's been basically contradicting his own theology, Catholic theology. He's literally, I mean, Catholics that follow their own theology think he's a heretic. Okay, I've heard Catholics call him Jorge the heretic. I mean, he doesn't even follow Catholic doctrine because he's talking about one world religion all the time. And of course, you know, so you got all these different contradictions with this man, Pope Francis. I think he's basically an antichrist figure. Is he the antichrist? Is he the false prophet? I kind of lean towards he might be the false prophet. I don't know. I kind of wonder that. And the fact he's coming to this event, okay, Pulse Reset, right after we have this Pulse gay nightclub shooting, which I think was a false flag, very clearly a false flag. Lots of crisis actors involved. People, a lot of inconsistent data. People saying that there were more than one shooter when they claimed there was only one shooter. And there's no way he could have done that with the weapon that they said the assault weapon that they claimed that he had. It's just insanity. The amount of bullets that were shot, that gun would overheat. He couldn't shoot that many bullets fast enough. The gun would have failed. It's impossible. They would have had to have multiple shooters for 50 people to be dead and 50 injured. Okay, we're talking like Rambo here, you know? I mean, seriously, think about it. It's really that ridiculous. It is really that ridiculous. We're talking basically Rambo here, going in and shooting up a nightclub. About the only person that can pull it off fictionally is Rambo. So you have this false flag event where a lot of people died, and actually I think there were a lot of people that died in this, you know, gay nightclub shooting. I really do believe it. But I think a lot of these people were crisis actors.
You know, I don't particularly agree with that, and I don't really think anybody died there. That's, you know, we can't agree on everything, but let's move forward here.
And even the shooter himself is a actor that was on IMDb in movies related to the shooting. It's like this all the time. All these crisis actors, every time they were actually in movies before. They were just C or B or C actors. You know, nobody knows who they were. And I'm going to put various evidences on the false flag stuff in this video as well. The point is that I look at that as probably potentially a sacrifice. You have the United Nations calling this a year of pulses. You have the Pulse gay nightclub shooting. I think that was part of their, occultic sacrifice for some event. And the event, I think, is this Pulse Reset alleged Christian event where you have legitimate Christians involved and you have terrors involved. And I think what they're going to end up doing at this event is uniting, and then the Pope Francis and some of these terrorists are going to slip in this, you know, we're uniting more than just Christianity here. We're uniting world religions out of love. See, this is how deceptive the devil is. Division in the church, in the true church, is of the devil. But unification under a false pretense, unification with yeast, with heresy, is also the devil's plan. So the devil doesn't want God's plan. So of course he's going to only offer two plans that on either side that seem to be diametrically opposed, but they're both of the devil. I wanted to show you this too really quickly. I thought this was maybe God's way of showing me that this was of the devil. It seems a little too coincidental. Okay, now this is just, sort of secondary evidences, I guess you would say, or potentially periphery evidences. But I just thought it was kind of interesting that when I clicked on two different links about this whole Pulse movement topic, I saw 666 twice. Okay, it just seems a little bit improbable that I'm going to see 666 twice just by happenstance. You have 666 on the number of views on this video that has to do with this Pulse movement. And then I was over here on this, this is a 2013 article, Reset Movement Calls Next Generation to Go All In for Jesus, 666 shares. I thought that was very odd that I saw 666 twice in a row. Of course, again, that's a periphery thing. But see, the devil likes to throw in his deception in a very clever manner. With this whole reset thing, it's about, reset button on life isn't quite as easy. Reset means go to get the system working towards its intended created purpose, says Hall, a young evangelist who is taking the Jesus-centered reset movement around the United States. We're saying, God, we want to see a supernatural reset take place. Since mid-September, the reset movement has spread from Seattle to New York City. So he's talking about resetting, break down all these walls of division from the denominations and such. But you know what, the devil's got his own plan there. He's like, oh, I see what these Christians are trying to do. They're trying to unite. They're trying to unite under Christianity, under orthodoxy, right? Under the true faith. So what does he do? He's like, oh, I got to get some tears into that event. I got to get some tears into that organization. Again, it was started in 2013. It's been 3 years. The devil got some of his terrors, some of his false Christians into the organization, and at the last second, before this event, Pope Francis decides to join. Isn't that interesting? Pope Francis, the leader of this one world religion, because he wants to divide all the walls too, but his agenda is not to unite Christianity. His agenda is to unite the religions of the world, which will formate into the satanic New World religion. Thanks for watching.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes left here. I did want to comment. He felt that maybe this Reset Together movement that started by Nick Hall. By the way, in a recent article, they said he was 33 years old. Interesting. He thinks maybe it started out as a good Christian organization. I believe it was probably polluted from the beginning. But let's look to that event on 7/16/16. Keep your eye on it. If you have any information that I haven't mentioned in either the show I did last week or this week, please email me at Greg Beacon, that's GregBeacon.com at Gmail. GregBeacon@gmail.com. Okay, now one last thing. I got about a 3-minute clip here about Pope Francis together with the enemy regarding his what he's going to do at this togetherness meeting, supposedly. But I want to read something he said recently, and you're going to see the heresy. I mean, this is completely amazing. He said, we know what Jesus did on that occasion. Instead of returning home with his family, he stayed in Jerusalem in the temple, causing great distress to Mary and Joseph, who were unable to find him. For this little, in quote, escapade, Jesus probably had to beg forgiveness of his parents. The gospel doesn't say this, but I believe that we can presume it. Mary's question, moreover, contains a certain reproach revealing the concern and anguish which she and Joseph felt. So basically, they're creating this. He's creating this false image that Jesus is subservient to Mary, and Mary's the queen. You know what that occult symbolism is all about. But anyway, let's see what this clip has to say, and I will add some things because he's going to speak in Italian, so maybe I will translate it. Here we go. Remember what I just said about Francis. Okay, a little bit of a intro, musical intro with a lot of occult symbolism here. Okay. The heart of Together has always been to lift up Jesus and the hope he offers. This is what they're spreading on this Together movement. The video titled Together 2016, Invitation from Pope Francis, was, now listen to this, was to upload Major Change TV YouTube channel on June 21st, 2016. Pope Francis is adding his voice to a diverse collection of leaders, artists, and youth from many backgrounds. Amid their differences, they believe one common thing. This is what they're promoting on this Together meeting coming up on 7/16. They're saying, amid their differences, they believe one common thing. Jesus can change. And he says this: I invite you to the great gathering of all the youth in Washington to find the one who can give you an answer. Jesus is waiting for you. Pope Francis is scheduled to deliver a video message to a gathering of evangelicals all around the world in Washington, D.C. on 7/16/16 called Together 2016. And here's that invitation from Pope Francis. I know there's something in your heart that moves you, and that makes you restless, because a young person who is not restless is an old person, and you have youthfulness, and youthfulness breeds restlessness. What is your restlessness? Do you know what it is, or do you not want to know? Do you want to know what your restlessness is? I invite you to a great gathering of youth in Washington, D.C. to find the one who can give you an answer to your restlessness. He's holding up the shirt together with an American flag, and respond to the great restlessness. And I assure you, you will not be frustrated. You won't be frustrated. God does not leave anyone disillusioned. Jesus is waiting for you there. He is the one who planted the seeds of restlessness in your heart. Give it a try. You don't have anything to lose. Then you can call me. Thank you. Do you believe that? That little strange message. We'll be back tomorrow on on Monday on the Investigative Journal.
Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie, with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character, as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy, in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.